I didn't take the time to black out the name of this subreddit, but please don't run over there. Just let's observe and talk in the confines of the BurbNBougie community. So this young lady says, help with managing work and domestic and household tasks. So these people are obviously women that are carrying water for the patriarchy, carrying water for the red pill. So let's see how this one goes. She says, hello, everyone. I've been a member of this community for a while, but I made a throwaway account as I don't want my boyfriend to find this post. If throwaway accounts aren't allowed, I apologize. She says, I'm 21 and my boyfriend is 34. We have been together for 1 year and we live together. She's 21, he's 34. She's 21, he's 34. We have been together for a year and we live together. I'm a full-time nursing student and also work part-time, 24 hours a week in a hospital. So she is a student and she's working part-time. Including my commute, classes, clinical hours, and my job, I'm out of the house 60 hours a week. This doesn't include time to study, which is quite a lot as a nursing student. My boyfriend is a work-from-home entrepreneur and influencer. I don't want to say the industry in case someone could find him online. He pays about 60% of the expenses, and I pay 40%. He does genuinely work very hard, and I respect him for what he does. My issue, we constantly have friction over household chores, laundry, cooking, cleaning, etc. The problem is that he thinks the woman should have to do all of the household chores, even when she works full-time, because women are naturally more skilled at cleaning. I've tried explaining that I'm out of the house for 60 hours each week, sometimes longer, and I need time to study too, so it would be appreciated if he could help at times, particularly on weeks when I have exams. I've tried doing all of the household tasks myself, but it's caused me struggles when studying, and in order to do well on my exams, I had to pull all-nighters instead. Right now, I have 5 exams in the next 7 days, so I haven't had time to deep clean, cook a nice meal, or do the laundry for the past 4 days. I have to go to a laundromat, so it takes up more time than doing the laundry at home. I still make food for us, but he complains that I should put more care into it when I'm already so pressed for time. I also pick up after both of us and especially make sure his office is clean. Yet he'll still complain if the apartment isn't close to spotless. Rather than helping out with some of this himself, he refuses and gets very upset with me. He says it takes away from his time at work and he needs to fully focus on his work each day. Another thing that irritates me, he says he needs to spend 12 plus hours a day on work, but he often goes on TikTok and YouTube for over an hour to rewind. When I take a small break, 15 minutes from studying, he asks me why I'm not cleaning, but sometimes I need a short break too. I really want to please him, so this is causing me significant stress. I wish I could be a superwoman and do my 60 hours a week, study, and have a spotless apartment and 3 elaborate meals on the table each day, but it's so hard to make it happen and have time to sleep too. Also, because the rules ask, I say the X life is normal a few times a week, and I have no complaints in that regard. I'm quite nervous about posting this, but I really appreciate any advice because this subreddit has greatly helped me before. Thank you so much. She's 21. She's 21. And she's sitting up here trying to follow these rules. She's trying to follow these rules. She's working and going to school, trying to, get herself together, which is great. But it does not make sense time-wise to do all of this and to really put all that on her own shoulders that she has to do this for him. This is not a team at all. She's catering to him. And what I don't understand about the women who buy into, I understand why the men want all of this. They get to be like demigods. They get to be like for real kings within their own home and have servants. But why do women want to be a servant? This is obviously a woman that can manage her time. She's in school, she's working, she's doing these things. But why do women really gravitate towards being a servant. Like, I don't get that in my brain. Like, my brain, it just like, okay, we all have to cook and clean and do the normal household chores, but you're in you should be in a partnership. But how is it going to be a partnership when you're 13 years younger and having to do everything? Absolutely not. I'm glad she didn't mention children, because then she'd really be worn down to the nub. Okay, let's look at some of the comments. Fuzzy Birthday says the only way these gender roles are sustainable is when you don't work, in which case your sole job is to take care of the household and his sole job is making money. He's making you pay rent and also clean and cook and take care of him while all he does is complain. He's not providing for you. Why are you doing all this for him? If you want a career and don't want to be a stay-at-home wife or girlfriend, then this is not the guy for you. Meta Jen says a 34-year-old man making a 21-year-old pay half of the bills is crazy. He's using you. Okay Outside says a 34-year-old making a part-time student pay 40% of the bill and do all of the housework. I bet he can't even believe he's getting away with this. I am so glad that these red pill women are actually giving her some advice that makes sense. Underground says he is because she's 21 and thinks gender roles only apply to her. And if he makes good money, he is a high value man in providing by picking up an extra 10%. When it's time says this sounds like major lifestyle incompatibility. He either A, doesn't give a crap if you go to school or work outside the house. Those things might as well be your personal time and hobbies for all he cares. As far as he cares, your side of the relationship is household care, cooking, and potentially future child care. Or B, he's delusional and wants to have his cake and eat it too. He thinks your side is both covering half the financial responsibility of the relationship and carrying on a second full-time job at home. In this case, his lack of connection to reality proves poor leadership or captain abilities. If it's B, you moved in with this guy extremely prematurely and need to do some serious vetting to determine if this major fault is worth it. If it's A, you need to decide if you're willing to accept his preferred lifestyle, since demanding he change it to suit your desired lifestyle is likely going to create resentment. That would require a lot. Major career path changes and a plan on how to handle school debt despite it. Alternatively, it's time to accept incompatibility and move on. Side note, if A is the case and you're willing to match his lifestyle and you want to have a child ever, you need some conversations about what he envisions household maintenance looking like while children are young, unless he's planning on funding a mother's helper in the early days and daycare starting at 3 months, and you're on board with that. There should be substantial flexibility to his visualization of household cleaning as woman's work. Some women do have breezy postpartum periods and adjust to an easy baby plus their household care without trouble. Other women take enormous hits to the amount of work they can get done in the day, especially if a baby is colicky or has other struggles, and you need to be prepared for that possibility. I must say, these women are giving some pretty solid advice to this young lady. Number one, she's 21 now. So that means that she got with him when she was 20 years old. So they really try to pick them up and pluck them young. And this is the reason why I do this every day, because we need to show women how lopsided this type of stuff is. This is the reason why I really don't like these big age gaps, because especially when the woman is the younger one, she has the power imbalances of the man because of his gender and the age. This is not a good situation. It's not sustainable. Y'all go ahead and weigh in on this one. I think that the comments did a really good job. They really did a good service. The young lady did not come back in with any comments, so we don't know if she's going to take the advice or not. Y'all let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. And don't run over there to that subreddit. All right. This is a clinic in having boundaries. This was posted in the 2X chromosome subreddit. It's titled, I am now afraid to touch you. All right, let's see what she's talking about. She says, I had told him ahead of time that anything to do with my anus is highly anxiety inducing for me. And he said that he only wanted to work within my comfort zone. Then he went and stuck his hands all up in my butt crack when we were getting handsy. I called it out in the moment. Progress for me. Yay. And after the fact, I clarified my initial statement. He said he got it. I asked him if he could handle not doing that in the future. I guess we'll see, was the response. I guess we'll see? No, sir, we won't. We will not. I told him that response showed that he was not a safe person for me to have X with. He responded with the title of this post. You're uncomfortable with me, so you're creating an argument. I am now afraid to touch you. Playing the victim when he had done something that he knew made me uncomfortable and had alluded to the possibility that he'd do it again in the future. It's not the first time I've had a man play the victim to head off valid criticisms of his action. Darvo in action. Okay, so if you don't know what Darvo is when a person does something to you and then they try to play the victim. The Darvo, the letters in Darvo stand for deny, attack, reverse victim, offender. Reverse victim offender is what this man did. So he did something to her. He did something to make this woman feel uncomfortable. She called him out on it, and now he's playing the victim like, oh my God, you're uncomfortable with me, and now I'm afraid to touch you. So now he is the one that is the aggrieved party. That's what Darvo does. And it's a manipulation tactic to make you think that you're the bad guy or you need to give in some way. This woman she had a boundary. She stated her boundary. He tried to cross it. He tried to encroach on it, and she clarified her boundary. I love this. She was very, very clear. And then once again, Darvo, deny. So sometimes they'll be like, I didn't do that. They'll attack you. See, that's what you guys always do. That's what you women always do. You always, and then you start to think, am I the one going crazy? You're the one that just did X, Y, and Z to me. And they do this as a way to get the heat off of them. Darvo, deny, attack, reverse victim, offender. This is the perfect example of that. All right, some of the comments. Unspecified Bat says, this has major, you're fired. You know what? I quit energy. And then the OP says, oh my God, that sums it up perfectly. Hat Pen Feminist says, the last guy I told not to choke me or strangle me responded with, you'll be fine. Straight to the trash with these guys. Virtual Star says, what the F? That's very dangerous, even done consensually. I think what he really meant is, I'll be fine. Captain Retrolicious says, yeah, I had a guy that I was dating who wanted to choke me, and I said, no thanks. I wasn't really into that. Then he wrote me a 4-page equivalent email with an analysis about everything that was psychologically wrong with me. Like, wow. This is interesting, and this is why sometimes you don't want to date these psychologists or these therapists or counselors, because they start to use therapy speak on you. So 20 Growing 20 says, I once dated a psychologist who gave me such an analysis. He told me he didn't think I'd be able to form a connection and have a relationship. I let him come watch a movie with me when my kids were in bed, but I told him up front he wouldn't stay the night. He tried anyway. I didn't want my kids to wake up to a dude in mom's bed. And he told me that as a psychologist, he'd be a better judge of what's harmful to kids. Then he was pissy about having to drive home in the dark and saying he hoped he didn't get pulled over. We had 2 beers each, and he had no explanation for his sudden fear or why he came over, knowing it would be dark when the movie was over and he had to drive home. I sent him off anyway and broke up with him over the phone the next day. He went on and on about how I'm too scared and rigid to let anyone get close. And he didn't foresee me having a long-term relationship. LOL. So he tried to use therapy speak. He knew that she had a boundary. He tried to encroach. She put a stop to it. She still sent him on the way. And then he needed to therapy speak her. Y'all, like I said, this is a post about boundaries, having them, communicating them, and then reinforcing them when these people inevitably try to walk over your boundaries. Ariane says, God, imagine actually having him near your children, this utter stranger who feels he's the one who should be making decisions about their lives. Bullets dodged, and good for you for cutting him off so promptly. Double Pigeon says, dude became a psychologist to manipulate and power trip others. LOL. Rob says, psychologists tend to be broken people a lot of the time. Maybe they chose that profession hoping to fix themselves. Who knows? I'm a recent widower and would love to just cuddle up and watch a movie, then drive home with a warm feeling. You set boundaries and held them. Good for you. And I'm going to end that with in there. I just wanted to show y'all what boundaries look like, and what Darvo, this was a good Darvo example. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. All right, y'all. So I have been sent this Am I the A-hole post more than a few times. So let me get into it. This person says, am I the a-hole for leaving my boyfriend for no reason? All right, so she is 26. Eric, her ex-boyfriend, is 28. She says, I have been with my now ex-boyfriend, Eric, for 2 years. Overall, we've had a good relationship, nothing crazy, until last night when things completely fell apart. We were at a bar with some friends, just having a normal night. Drinks, food, the usual. Eric and his friend, Mark, who's also 28, were joking around, and Eric made a comment about how much Mark was eating. Something like, careful, Mark, you'll eat the whole damn bar. It seemed harmless at first, just typical guy humor. But then Mark looked right at me and said, if only she knew. It was one of those moments where you instantly feel uncomfortable, like there's something going on behind your back. I had no idea what Mark was talking about, and the whole vibe at the table shifted. But before I could even react, Eric exploded. He went off on Mark, screaming at him to shut the F up, and even tried to get physical. His other friends had to hold him back. Mark didn't really react, which only made Eric angrier. The whole thing was awkward as hell, and we ended up leaving early. When we got back to my place, I couldn't stop thinking about that comment. So I asked Eric, what the hell did Mark mean by, if only she knew? What don't I know? And instead of just answering me like a normal person, Eric lost it again. He started yelling at me, telling me to drop it and stop being paranoid. He was dodging every question, getting more pissed every time I brought it up. I wasn't trying to pick a fight. I just wanted to know what was going on. It felt like something important being hidden from me, but I wasn't about to let it slide. But every time I'd ask, he'd get more defensive and angry. Finally, he stormed out of my apartment. He doesn't live with me, so I locked the door and called it a night. I didn't hear from him until this morning, and when I did, it was just more angry texts telling me to drop it and leave him alone. At that point, I was done. I'm not going to sit around and be treated like I'm crazy for asking a simple question. I text him back saying we're done, I need space, and if he can't be honest with me, then I don't want any part of this relationship. End of story. Now, here's where it gets worse. He's been going around to our mutual friends telling them that I left him for no reason and trying to make it seem like I'm the one who overreacted. Some of them even reached out to me saying I should have just let it go and that I'm blowing things out of proportion. I told them to mind their own effing business. I don't care what they think. None of them were at that moment. None of them saw how he acted, and none of them have to live with the pit in their stomach that I've had since that weird ass comment from Mark. I'm not about to stay in a relationship where I feel like something shady is going on behind my back. If Eric can't be straight with me after 2 years together, then what's the point? So Reddit. Am I the a-hole for leaving him over this? So that was the point. She got to that part. And then she gave an explosive update. She says, I'm feeling like I'm living in some kind of twisted nightmare. And the more I try to make sense of it, the worse it gets. Mark called me today while I was at work. I didn't expect him to call me because he was ignoring me, and I stepped outside to take the call. And he told me something that I never in a million years could have prepared for. He told me that Eric has been putting other men's semen into my food, drinks, skincare, shampoo, conditioner, and even my toothpaste. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not being dramatic. That's what Mark said. Eric has apparently been hooking up with random men, having them finish into cups, and then using it in my meals and drinks like it's some kind of sick joke. Even as I write this, I'm still in complete disbelief. Who does that to someone? Mark said he found this out about a week ago, but for some reason it took him that long to tell me. A week. I've been living my life completely oblivious, trusting Eric, someone I loved, while this was happening behind my back. I feel so betrayed, so disgusted, and so violated. When I asked Mark if he and Eric were having an affair or if this was some sort of twisted thing between them, he swore they weren't, and he even made a gross comment about not wanting to touch Eric because who knows what diseases he has. That made my stomach turn. I'm getting tested for everything now because I don't know what's been in my body. When I got home, I went straight to the kitchen. Mark told me to check under the sink. And there they were. The cups, hidden behind the cleaning supplies. I lost my I threw out everything in the kitchen and bathroom and even stuff I knew wasn't touched. I don't care. Everything feels contaminated now. My home doesn't feel like a safe space anymore. Every time I walk into the kitchen, I feel like I'm going to throw up. I can't even function without my mind going to dark places, thinking about all the times I had no idea what was happening. I don't have any solid proof of this. It's just Mark's word in those disgusting cups. And I feel so powerless. If nothing can be done about this, I honestly don't know what I'm going to do. How is this even legal? How can someone get away with something so vile? I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust anyone again. This whole thing has been messing with my head in ways I can't even explain. I feel dirty. I feel like I've been violated on such a deep level, and there's nothing I can do to undo it. My mom wants me to check into a hospital just to make sure I'm okay mentally, and I'm honestly going to do it. I don't feel stable right now. I don't feel like myself. I'm scared I might hurt myself or someone else. Eric was eating the same food. He was eating the food that he had contaminated right alongside me. Was it a kink? A power trip? I don't even know anymore. All I know is that the man I thought I knew, the man I loved, is a complete stranger to me now. I can't believe I've been living with someone capable of something so vile. I feel like I'm losing my mind and I don't know how I'm going to come back from this. How can he do this to me? I'm genuinely losing it. I'm a danger to myself. I won't be on. I'm going to check myself into a hospital. And I'm going to end it there. Obviously, this got a lot of people's attention. I know we have to take the "Am I the a-hole" post with a grain of salt. I totally get it. But in the grand scheme of things, let's not act like there are not some sociopaths out there in the world that just harm people and get a thrill out of it. You really don't know people. There's no vetting people to this extent. You don't know how people are going to treat you in the long run. Anybody can say anything to anyone, and you really don't know how they're going to treat you. You don't know what's going on in people's heads. Anyways, obviously not the a-hole, obviously. But you guys go ahead and join the conversation. There's not really a lot to explore with comments anyway. She had already broken up with him simply because of the feeling in the pit of the stomach in his reaction. So it's not like there's any advice, but to the outside world watching this, know and understand that it is perfectly fine to leave someone alone if they blow up over simple questions. It is perfectly fine to imagine that they're hiding something from you and you don't want to be in a relationship with people who hide things from you. That is a perfectly valid reason to leave someone alone. All right, y'all, join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.